Welcome to Faith and Finance, where we bridge the gap between hill wealth building and global financial trends. Today, we're diving into a topic that has stirred curiosity, controversy, and hope for years: the revaluation of the Iraqi dinar. You've probably heard rumors, bold predictions, and even whispered strategies in financial circles, but what's the real story? Is there finally a credible reason to believe Iraq's currency might increase in value? Let's walk through it with a clear mind, a calm heart, and a critical lens, inshallah. For years, the idea of the Iraqi dinar revaluing has felt like a mix of fantasy and speculation. Some view it as the next big wealth opportunity, others write it off as a long-running hoax. But recently, certain developments have started to add weight just enough to make people look twice. Especially now, in 2025, after multiple global financial shifts, there's renewed interest in how currency valuations can drastically change lives, governments, and even entire economies. Now, to understand why this discussion exists in the first place, we need to zoom out. Iraq, despite its challenges, is one of the wealthiest resource-rich nations on the planet. Sitting on the world's fifth largest proven oil reserves, Iraq has something that global superpowers want and need. But despite this immense wealth potential, the Iraqi dinar is still trading at extremely low values internationally. Why? Well, it's partly historical. Following years of war, instability, sanctions, and occupation, the Iraqi economy took blow after blow. As a result, the currency that was once strong began to collapse. In 2003, after the fall of Saddam Hussein, the Central Bank of Iraq issued new banknotes to curb counterfeiting and stabilize the economy. But the value of the dinar never returned to what it once was. Many believe this was temporary. And yet, decades later, the dinar remains under a managed float, kept low, partly for internal control and external influence. But here's where things start to get interesting. One of the foundational criteria for a currency to increase in value, especially in a revaluation scenario, is foreign investment. It's not just about oil or gold reserves. It's about international confidence in the stability, security, and growth potential of a country's economy. If billions of dollars begin flowing into a nation's infrastructure, banks, and businesses, it creates upward pressure on its currency. This is basic economics. Now, look at what's happening in Iraq today. Over the last 2 years, foreign investment has steadily increased. New oil contracts, tech sector proposals, and real estate developments are gaining traction. Companies from China, Turkey, the Gulf, and even Europe have started entering or re-entering Iraq with long-term strategies. That's not speculation, that's recorded. Moreover, international organizations, including the IMF and World Bank, have been working closely with Iraq to stabilize its fiscal policies. Iraq has also strengthened its relationships with regional partners and quietly, with the United States. This is where the speculation about the Trump administration or those still connected to Iraq comes in. Some people believe that behind the scenes, American interests are continuing to support Iraq's financial reform efforts. This isn't necessarily conspiracy, it could simply be part of broader geopolitics. The U.S. has invested billions into Iraq, both militarily and financially. A stable, prosperous Iraq would not only benefit the region, but it would also support global oil markets, reduce the need for U.S. military presence, and present opportunities for American companies. A revalued dinar would represent a win for Iraq and a symbolic win for those in Washington who have long believed in Iraq's potential. Of course, belief isn't enough. There needs to be action. And we're starting to see it. Iraq has been reducing its dependence on the US dollar, increasing trade settlements in dinar, and even exploring ways to strengthen its gold reserves. These are all signals that Iraq is working toward economic sovereignty, which is a key step in currency reform. Now let's address the elephant in the room. Is this revaluation going to make overnight millionaires? Probably not. And if it does, It won't happen in the way the internet suggests. But could it shift significantly and reward those who've been patient and practical? That's possible. A modest revaluation is, say, 2x or 3x the current rate out could have meaningful impact, especially for Iraqis themselves. One thing to keep in mind, Iraq isn't just adjusting numbers for show. It's reforming banking systems, launching digital dinar strategies, and modernizing its financial institutions to align with global systems. These aren't short-term plays. They're foundational steps that point toward long-term value increases. Still, you must be careful. Scams are everywhere. Some people are exploiting this situation by selling fake notes or promising VIP exchange programs that don't exist. Always buy from verified dealers if you're buying physical currency, and be wary of anyone promising guaranteed returns. Islam teaches us to be cautious in financial dealings, especially when ambiguity, gharar, is present. Now, let's not ignore the spiritual dimension. As Muslims, we believe risk comes from Allah. Chasing wealth through speculation alone is not only risky, it can be spiritually damaging. That's why here on Faith and Finance, we emphasize halal strategies, ethics, and long-term thinking. The idea of benefiting from a revaluation isn't wrong, but it must be pursued with clarity, integrity, and patience. If you're holding IQD already, maybe it's worth keeping a small amount just like you would with other emerging market investments. But don't base your entire financial future on it. Diversify, build skills, grow online income, and develop halal investment portfolios. Those are steps you can control. Revaluations. That's in Allah's hands. So, to answer the original question, is there finally justification behind the IQD revaluation rumors? Yes, more than ever before. But it's not magic. It's economics. It's geopolitics. And it's slow-moving. Iraq is rebuilding itself, attracting billions in investment, and taking deliberate steps to reform its currency. That's a lot more solid than just rumors from forums or Telegram groups. Will the Trump administration or what's left of its international influencia help push this along? That's harder to say. But influence doesn't disappear just because a term ends. Many figures from that era still have relationships, strategies, and leverage in the region. So yes, it's possible that political momentum from the past is still affecting current developments. But again, no one can say we know or even if this will happen. What we can say is that Iraq is moving in a direction that supports currency reform. That's encouraging, not just for investors, but for the Iraqi people, who deserve a stable, prosperous future. If you found this topic valuable, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Faith and Financia, your destination for halal wealth education, Islamic finance news, and real talk about global money matters. Share this with a brother or sister who's curious about IQD or foreign currency investment, and as always, remember, your ultimate risk is written, but how you earn it is your test. Until next time, stay ethical, stay hopeful, and stay whole.